Welcome. It's Tuesday, August the 24th, and it's the Maine Take. Hi, my name is Dana Connors. I am pleased to be your host of this program brought to you by the Maine State Chamber of Commerce 2 times every month. And every episode that we provide is intended to give you the information that we believe is valuable for you to know concerning policy, sometimes politics, but more often than not, it's the people at work in our state to improve our lives and our livelihood. And today I'm very excited to bring to you a success story about a business and the person behind that business. It started with a dream and with determination. We are here to talk about it today. And I am pleased that I have that opportunity. Let me tell you how it all started. It started when this person, well, an inquisitive person, I might add, of 13 years of age from Montana, decided that he was interested in aquaponics. And as a student, a few years later, perhaps several years later at Bowdoin College, his inquisitiveness turned his dream into a reality. As a freshman at Bowdoin College here in Maine, he formed his own company, Springworks. And not long thereafter, purchased a farm of 168 acres located in Lisbon. And that's how it got started in 2014. Today, this 26-year-old is the founder and president of the first and largest aquaponic grower of organic lettuce in New England. That person is with me today. It's Trevor Kenkel. Trevor, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for the kind introduction.
Oh, you deserve it, trust me. And when we're through, I'm sure the other people will feel the same as I do. You know, I confess that I first became aware of you and this incredible story, and frankly, I had to look up the word aquaponics. I know it's been around for a century. I've not been around quite that long, but it was a term that I wasn't familiar with. But after having been there for just a short time, there was no question. While I may not have known what it meant, I sure became aware of the success that it has brought you and your experience throughout, frankly, a good part of your life. At 13 years old, while most people have sports or computer on their mind, and you may have, but you certainly had a dream on your mind. So I want you to tell our audience, for those who may not know, have the same problem I had when I heard the term. Tell us about what aquaponics is and the magic behind it, and build that into your journey, because your journey is a fascinating one. It sets an example for, frankly, all of us in Maine to hear and to share. And I'm happy to do that. So tell us, what is aquaponics? Why is it important?
Yeah, so aquaponics is a growing system in which the fish provide organic fertilizer for the plants, and the plants use that to grow, which cleans the water for the fish. So we're able to grow using very little resources, up to 95% less water. We grow now around 20 times more greens per acre than a conventional farm. And we're able to do it year round in a controlled environment where we can maintain higher standards of food safety than out in the field.
So let me ask you this. I was there and I saw how the fish and the lettuce, so to speak, the growing product, kind of interacts. And it's a fascinating story because you don't often think of fish and lettuce as being supportive of one another. So you actually grow the seeds there, you bring in the fish. Now fill in the gap there of that story. You started down that way, but I want you to expand a bit because I find it fascinating.
Yeah, so I came upon aquaponics over a decade ago now. Became interested in sustainable agriculture while growing up in Montana, surrounded by a lot of conventional agriculture. So I had the opportunity to see some of the negative impacts that conventional ag can have on the ecosystems around us. For me, it was seeing the deterioration of a creek near my house that I would bike back and forth to and catch frogs, do a little bit of fly fishing, and eventually, as there was more agricultural development in the area, there was a lot of nutrient pollution, and the fish went away, the frogs went away, and so there was this really kind of visceral experience for me that made me more interested in our agricultural system broadly, and what I could do to help. And so I started a little organic garden, got chickens, but wanted to find a way to do that year round. And because, the gardening season in Montana, not unlike Maine, is pretty short. So I eventually stumbled on aquaponics as a way of organic growing in a controlled environment. Kind of built larger and larger systems, started with a little 20-gallon aquarium, and built a system over the top of that with money from a summer job, and then just kind of built larger and larger systems. Eventually built a little greenhouse in my family's backyard, and when that kind of produced a little more than I had expected, I started selling that to local restaurants. And that was really when it started to transition from kind of what I did as a hobby and feed my family and, kind of give some produce to neighbors and stuff into more of a business. And eventually kind of made my way back east, and started Springworks with a 6,000 square foot greenhouse 7 years ago now.
Yeah.
And then we built our second greenhouse 3 years ago that added another 18,000 square feet of facility, and then just opened up our most recent 40,000 square foot expansion.
Yeah. Short period of time. Great job. I also want to explore, when you bought that 168 acre farmland in Lisbon, it had on its property a farm stand. And it's from reading, I understand that Sierra, who came to Maine to join your operation, who's now vice president of sales, actually started the farm stand and maintained it for a couple of years while you were building it. Tell us about that, because I spoke to a group not so long ago in the educational profession, and we were talking about the economy, and I gave you all as an example, and I asked the person in the audience, are you aware of Springworks? And they said, oh yeah, I grew from a farm stand to what it is today, and it's a fascinating story. So share a bit of that.
Yeah, so when we first bought the property, there had been a farm stand running there for almost 2 decades, and they were kind of planning on picking up and leaving. It was actually the last farm stand that this farmer was running, and we ended up buying the place from them, and then they were by far our biggest supplier. So I think it really worked out for both parties, and we brought in the neighborhood of 20 local vendors, between farmers, but also packaged goods like local popcorn, local cookies, that sort of thing. And it really gave us an opportunity to interact with our community in a bigger way, especially as, folks not from the area. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Montana, so I kind of have the small town experience, but to the community at large, we're kind of strangers because we, come from a different state, didn't really have connections here. And I think it was really helpful in getting more folks to understand what it was that we were doing. Mm-hmm. I used to work always a half shift every Friday at the farm stand. And then same time, and then the next day do a tour every Saturday morning for, I think, the first 2 years, so that folks could just get a sense of what we were up to in Lisbon, and that we weren't growing cannabis down there, we were actually growing lettuce.
Yeah. Well, it proved to be a great foundational entry into your business that's been so successful. I mentioned Sierra, who couldn't be with us today, but it's really a family affair. You do have a number of employees, but your family is very engaged with your operation. When I was there, I think I met your dad, and in addition to Sierra, so you've made it a family love affair. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to mention that, you know, it seemed to me that when I was reading some of the background information that this is where you are today, but it certainly isn't the end of your plans, both in terms of the products. I read where you're expanding into other types or varieties of lettuce. There is an opportunity for the fish. Is it tilapia fish? I know you mentioned goldfish, but tilapia, there's also a market for that, as I understand, that you've already engaged or are exploring. So let's talk about that. But I also want to move into increasing your capacity, because it's clear that there is a very strong appeal for what you're doing, and Hannaford and has been all over it. They're a tremendous partner and supporter of yours. So absolutely. I want to get into that, but talk about expanding into product lines that the audience would find interesting.
Yeah, so you know, we're really fortunate to have our partnership with Hannaford's. In fact, Mike Bale was up for the ribbon cutting and gave a great speech. So we are launching a one-cut romaine line with them, which replaces product coming out of California with, you know, product coming out of Maine, and getting into people's hands. Right now, over 95% of America's lettuce is produced in California and Arizona. So that's, you know, really our goal is to replace more of that with product grown right here in New England. So we'll become the sole supplier of that product to their main distribution center. And in just a few weeks, we will be adding romaine head lettuce onto that as well. So all of their head romaine lettuce will be organic, and it's going to come from Springworks. Which, so
how many varieties with that? How many varieties you have? Boston Bib, right?
Yeah.
What
so
else?
Right now, yeah, we do Bib lettuce, we do full size romaine, we do a baby romaine, we do green leaf, and we also kind of package those products. There's kind of different ages and things like that. So we'll do some of them by weight in clamshells and others as head products. And then we've also begun to produce cilantro as well.
Interesting, fascinating. So let's I'm aware from our conversations on that day, but also in reading that your expansion plans are pretty ambitious as well. I know what they are, but why don't you share them with us?
Yeah, so we're planning on adding another 500,000 square feet of greenhouse in Lisbon over the next 5 years. We've been very intentional about our growth over the years. I think that's a mistake that's made often in our business. It takes time to build the relationship with your customer, with your vendors, understand your logistics, and also for us, there's a really strong technology piece. And so making sure that we feel really confident that the technology that we've developed will scale as we get bigger. And from the beginning, we've always been building with that in mind. You know, even when we were in a 6,000 square foot greenhouse, in terms of process and technology, it was always, you know, what is applicable to a much larger facility as well. And, you know, our intention is to grow our relationships. I think there's lots of demand for local organic product, especially at a very competitive price point that can displace, you know, product coming from California and Arizona. Mm-hmm. And then in addition to that, right now we're producing about 200,000 pounds of tilapia, and that business, you know, is kind of getting to the right scale to commercialize as well.
Yeah, we're going to have pictures to be able to show, but if anybody has the opportunity to go to the farm and to witness what has just been discussed here today, you're going to walk away extremely impressed, because it's like looking at a field of lettuce. It's watching the fish and the activity surrounding it, the seeds that are at the early stage of growth. It's a fantastic story, and it really sets the stage for where Maine is trying to go and how we're trying to get there by encouraging our younger people like yourself. It's simply a wonderful story, and little wonder that you are a finalist for the Family Farm Business Award for this year. I can't imagine you not getting it with all the success you and your family have brought forward in 7 years. I mean, you think about it, it's a very short period of time to go from that farm stand in 2014 when you purchased the property to today where you are New England's largest grower of organic lettuce in New England, with the largest aquaponic greenhouse in New England as well. That's a tremendous success story, Trevor. And I thank you so much for being with us and able to share that story. Again, it's inspirational, it's encouraging, it's very, very positive. And we thank you for doing all of that. So congratulations and thanks. Peter Van Allen joins us as he always does on Tuesdays to share with us what's going on in Maine Biz. But first of all, Peter, in addition to welcoming you, pretty fantastic story we just heard from a younger generation with a dream, with determination. And here today, we celebrate what is really the largest grower of organic lettuce, the largest greenhouse, aquaponic greenhouse capacity in New England. Pretty remarkable.
It's incredible. I salute these guys. I mean, they really thought big with this. I mean, in terms of the amount of acreage and just, being able to go after, some of the money that's out there to get it financed and really, kind of put this right in front of, a big supermarket chain like Hannaford and say, hey, we're doing this. You don't need to buy products from California. We'll grow it right here in Lisbon, Maine. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, and truthfully told, I mean, they are in every one of Hannaford's 184 stores, which is remarkable, but they've also established a relationship that grows with every day with Whole Foods. And with them getting into different varieties, the future is nothing but positive. It's a wonderful story for a lot of different reasons.
So Dana, I had a kind of along the same lines, but a different model here. I had an opportunity when I was out west on vacation. We were in Jackson, Wyoming, and basically I had it in the back of my mind, but I kind of stumbled upon this vertical harvest, and they had a 3-story building, looks like a huge greenhouse. And instead of using aquaponics, they're doing hydroponics. So instead of that kind of water system, they have a system that you're growing things vertically. They don't use soil, basically. And that's as much as I know about it. I'm not an expert on this at all. But now, to come back to Maine, Vertical Harvest, which is based in Jackson, Wyoming, is planning to build one of these sites in Westbrook. It'll be 70,000 square feet, 4-story. It'll look like a giant greenhouse, kind of more boxy looking. They plan to produce 1 million pounds of produce a year, which they'll sell to hospitals, colleges, restaurants, and then even Sodexo, the big food supplier, which supplies restaurants, hospitals, and so on. They've agreed to be a buyer. So this is pretty neat, and it's also gotten the attention of the financing community in Maine. They secured a $45 million loan backing, I guess, from the Finance Authority of Maine. So these guys are going great guns. They haven't broken ground yet. I think the plan is to break ground sometime in the next several months, but that's planned for Westbrook, and I think that's going to be another one of these. Where I mean they're gonna have a pretty big impact once they get going. And I don't know if they would directly compete with Springworks or how that works. I don't know enough about that, but I think it's going to be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, well, either example, both examples are great for the public to learn about, because they do encourage others to feel good about what they're doing, to invest, to grow, to do the things that are necessary for an economy to prosper. And you can't help but feel that way when you hear either of those stories. One is already here going like gangbusters, and the other is planting the seed for success as well. So no, it's good. I think it's a complementary to what we've heard from Springworks. So
Sure.
as always, thanks, Peter. I appreciate it. Always look forward to your stories. Yeah.
We appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. You know, today's takeaway really expresses more than anything else that it should give us a multitude of reasons to be proud, to be inspired, encouraged, and optimistic about our future. You know, just a short time ago in 2019, it was that the state adopted a strategic plan to build our future, our strength, and our success. And what that was built on were two major points of which you have been witness to today. One was talent, the recruitment, the retention, the skills that we need for the economy of today, and in particular to encourage our younger generation to be a part of that. The other foundational piece was innovation, new ways, new ideas, using technology to do perhaps what was done yesterday, but makes it even better when applied to technology today. And honestly, with Springworks and with Trevor, you have been witness to exactly what the strategic plan was calling for. Just think about it. You know, at 13, that's pretty young to have that inquisitive nature. As a matter of fact, aquaponics was this thing. And as I recall reading, he had his first aquaculture investment as a team, a system, if you will. And he talked a bit about it here today. And that came from money he had earned during the summer recess. But his inquisitiveness led to a drive, a determination as a student, evidenced in his freshman year when he formed the company, Springworks, and then went on to invest in 160 acres of farmland in Lisbon, Maine. That was a strong start. But his vision, with the help of his sister Sierra and his family, took him from a farm stand in 2014 to the dedication that we spoke of in June of this year, where we experienced the third opening of the third and happened to be the largest aquaponic greenhouse in New England. And he has become the largest grower of organic lettuce in the Northeast. Yeah, Springworks has done a marvelous job, and today they produce over 1 million heads of certified organic lettuce every year. Boy, that is incredible. That's a great story, but he's not done yet. He talked about the product, the variety of lettuce that he would pursue, how the expansion to take place of 500,000 square feet, 4 buildings by 2026. Yeah, we've just been witness to a young entrepreneur with an innovative mind and that sprang from an idea that he had at the age of 13. Using proprietary technology, took a risk, purchased land, backed by drive and determination. We've seen the work of that and the results of that today. His success is found in that intersection of local foods, source production, as well as the challenge of climate change. They have been brought together where fish and food products can work together and create a product that is sustainable and organic, where the benefits can be derived when the economy and the environment work together. Yeah, a great program, a great example. And thank you, Trevor. Thank you to your family for what you have accomplished, but also for showing us the way. And like I said a moment ago, it's no wonder that you are a finalist this year for the Family Business Award. But you know what? This is one example of many that we have in the state of Maine that are kind of those secret, yet to be discovered jewels. We probably use their products, but we're just simply not always aware of them. For example, did you know that Rancourt and Company out of Lewiston were the producers of the shoes that our Olympians this summer wore, both in the opening as well as the closing ceremonies? Did you know that the drumsticks of most of your major performers of bands, drummers in the band, are made right here in Newport, Maine? Perhaps it's a blues band or a rock and roll band, but I'll bet you those drummers are using those same drumsticks from Newport that I just spoke of. Yes, and even the bats that are used in Major League Baseball, and certainly in this past year's All-Star game, were provided and manufactured by a company in Shirley, Maine. There's so many examples like these that are around our state, and companies that we hope to be able to bring to your attention in the following months. It will be our pleasure to do so, and in the process, it will provide encouragement as well as pride in what we have in Maine and what our future holds for us. Well, that is our takeaway for today, and that is the Maine Take. So with that, as always, I leave you with these words. In a world where you can be anything, be kind, both to yourself, but also to one another. Until we see you right back here 2 weeks from today, stay safe and enjoy. Take care.